So, something completely different this time. I'm not talking about games. I'm not talking about movies. I'm not talking about shows. I'm going to be talking about books. So, I have been recently listening to a lot of audiobooks. So, there are two audiobooks that I've been listening to. One is called The Power of Habit, and the other one is Atomic Habits. So, definitely with both these, I've had a lot of time I wanted to improve upon my habits and just kind of just see what I can do to make my life easier, kind of understand why habits are habits to begin with. And if I'm having good habits, I can hopefully carry those habits onto other things. And I searched up a couple audiobooks, and The Power of Habit, why we do what we do in life and business, was the first one I listened to, and I actually really liked it a lot. And the audiobook that I listened to after was Atomic Habits, which I feel like a lot more people know about that book. And I'm actually also listening to another audiobook right now called Thinking Fast and Slow. I have the actual physical copy of that book, but I just like never got the chance to I read like a chapter or two, and then I kind of just like dropped it. And this time though, it's like I'm definitely gonna listen to it as like an audiobook and listen to it on my drive to work and at work and whatnot. And yeah, I've been basically so do keep in mind that like a lot of my opinions on some of these books, it's not me fully listening. It's kind of like, as I'm driving or as I'm like at work, like listening to certain things. But I'll start with not Atomic Habits. I want to start with Power of Habits first, and why I liked it so much, and some things that maybe you might not like as well. Uh, Power of Habits a lot more. Um, Power of Habits is a lot more. You're listening to these stories, and in the beginning, it's a bit slower, where it's going down to like the nitty gritty, like why habits are habits. And I do feel like a little bit in the beginning it's a little bit slower, but towards the mid to like later parts of the book, they have a lot more stories, and you have these stories on certain people, certain athletes, certain celebrities, or and why they use their habits to become at a level of where they are now. For example, um, a really good story that I remember was about Michael Phelps, that they talk about later on in the book, and how Michael Phelps has a habit of a routine of what he does every single day of every single time for race day during the Olympics and all these kind of things. He has a specific routine. He eats specific things, and by the time he goes into the actual race, the actual swim meet, doesn't matter. His goggles could be flooded. He could be, everything else could be like, maybe his caps would come off or something is just like not right, but it wouldn't matter, because at the end of the day, his habits that surrounded the actual event that was leading up to it were already good and solidified, that the actual event wasn't that scary itself. It wasn't very intimidating if things didn't work out, because his mindset was already set and he had everything planned already, and it just proceeded. And next thing you know, all you had to focus on was the race. So that was an incredible story that I really liked. Power of Habits, I will say, feels like you're listening to a lot of these stories, and it's up to your interpretation on how you take these stories. And with these stories as well, they tell you why certain habits and certain things are what it is. Of course, that's another big thing, but like what they're using, what strategies and all these kind of things, it's less of a guidebook on here's what you need to do to have better habits. This is like exactly this and this. It's more so kind of guiding you. It does still tell you like, hey, this is what you should do with your habits, and maybe this is what you shouldn't do with certain habits and such. It still does do that as well, but it's a bit more, there's not as much like hand holding on this. It kind of guides you through and tells you that, hey, there's these things, you should check it out and try it out, because this is the reason why it works. And I like that a lot. I do feel like at times when I was listening, I kind of wished that there was a bit more of a direct response on what you need to be doing. And it does have those at times, but it feels like for certain things, for a lot of the stories, it feels like a research study that was being done, and these are the results of that research study. And I still think that's fine. I still think that's what makes it an incredible book. It really talks about so many different things. Like it talks about people on how, like I said earlier, the celebrities becoming, why celebrities are celebrities, or why certain athletes are certain athletes, because it's not just about what they do on the courts or on the whatever sport that they do, or on the whatever movies or shows or whatever. It's about everything that surrounds it. And you think originally that habits are always negative things, that biting your nails or like shaking your leg when you're nervous or something. And these are habits, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it talks more about how we can transform our habits of maybe bad ones and turn it into good ones, and how you can slowly do that as a process. It talks about habits in a way where you most likely will never realize what your habits are until, of course, someone points it out. There's an example that the author uses at the end of the book of how if you were a fish in the sea, and then one of you you talk to another fish friend, and you're like, oh man, look at all this water everywhere. As a fish, you'd be like, what the hell is water? You don't know what water is. Just like how if we don't like see like air in a sense, and that's the same concept. Like fish don't see water. So habits are the same case. You don't see it until someone points it out, or you can point it out for yourself. And once you see it, you're like, oh wow, there's a lot that there is to this. There's a lot that I am doing, maybe wrong or right. And there's certain points where the author says directly, like you can't take away your habits, but you can transform your habits. And I think that's a good way to put it, because some of these things, habits, are also what make us as people who we are. And without some of these habits, well, I mean, who are we as people? But it's not about removing certain things, it's about replacing and turning it into something better. Now, enough about Power of Habits, because I'll circle back a little bit more about that in a bit. But to move on to Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is great as well. I do really like this book a lot. In comparison to Power of Habits, Atomic Habits is a lot more direct. And obviously I feel that way when like the actual author is reading the book towards me. Not that the Power of Habit wasn't as well. I'm pretty sure it was the actual author like reading out the book. But with Atomic Habits, it feels more of like a guidebook. And real life examples of why these tips and why these why these habits and tricks might work. It gives you a habit on what you can do and why this might work, and real world examples of people that have used it. So again, very similar in concept of Power of Habits, but I feel like Atomic Habits is a lot more of, here's how to do it, here's why you should do it. And it feels a lot more catered to reach a broader audience. And I can see why a lot of people talk about this book, because it's very easy to pick up, easy to understand. The vocabulary that they're using, actually for both of these books, aren't actually that crazy. It's very simple to understand. But with Atomic Habits, it's very direct. It feels like a lot of times the author is talking directly to you. He's saying you, and talking as if he's right there in front of you, telling you what to do. It's like listening to a TED Talk. Honestly, it's like reading a TED Talk. For my case, listening, obviously, because I listen to the audiobook. And I still think that's great. however, my some of my gripes were how there just like randomly throughout the book, the author would just like throw in his website, and it just feels like he's like marketing himself. And I get it, like you're a businessman at the end of the day, like you're trying to make more money, and this book is of course is making you a lot of money, and more power to you, especially because you are a successful businessman. But it just felt very like it felt very, you know, it, I can't think of the exact word for it, but just in the sense of why are there ads in my book? Like, why are there ads in my book? If it's one thing when like you're listening to like a podcast and then there's like ads and you're like, okay, I expect it because it's a podcast, but like I'm listening to my audiobook and then there's ads in my audiobook. Like, what's going on with that? And I get it. Like I said, you know, there's probably more stuff that this person has on his website about like coaching and all these kind of things, and that's great. But I didn't really like that. I was not a big fan of that. Especially when you are trying to get a lot of stuff out of it, but it feels like he is trying to milk you. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's still a great book. Besides like besides those like little like like not really ads, but those mentions of his websites, atomichabits.com and whatever. Besides that, I still think it's a fantastic book. Both of these books, I highly recommend you read them or listen to them or whatever. I will say though, don't just have like one over the other. I think read both / listen to both. Also it's on Spotify. That's where I listen to mine. It's if you have Spotify Premium, which most people do, or well that I know, you might not have Spotify, but Premium. But with Spotify Premium, it's free and you can just listen to it. It's not even that long. It's only like a 2-3 hours long, or maybe a little bit more, but it's not crazy long. I highly recommend it. And lastly, some of my thoughts on how this really related to me. So for those of you that don't know, but I've probably mentioned it a couple times in some of my videos, I'm currently cutting weight. I've lost 30 pounds from what I was. I started cutting weight towards like the end of September, and I've lost about 30 pounds, and it's been what now? Right now is May, so it's been like 9 months, I think. Right? Am I doing my math correctly? 8 months? Oh no, it's June now. Oh whoops. So it's about 9 months. Yeah. And man, please focus. So I'm not trying to say this in a way of like, oh, like it's like glaze or whatever. But hello. Can we focus? I'm gonna have to edit this. Okay, we're good. All right. Why was that so hard? I'm not trying to toot my own horn in this, but I realized that when I started cutting weight, and I'm also not nowhere near what I want to be at, what my goal weight. I think it's like I need to cut like another like anywhere from like 15 to 20 pounds, which is still a long way to go, but it's still pretty amazing considering I've lost 30. The reason I bring this up is because when you're cutting weight and when you're on a diet and you're tracking your macros and everything, it's very tedious in the beginning, but you keep doing it because it's gonna help you down the long run, and at the end of the day, it's to help your future self, and you see it progressing. You see the progression little by little. A very big thing that both these books talk about is about like going to the gym and working out and all these kind of things, and dieting and tracking your foods, because that's another habit as well. That is another habit that you can create, and a lot of things. Another habit where people talk about of how they have struggles with dieting or struggles with going to the gym, of making that a habit. And that's where Atomic Habits come in and talks about more like, you know, ways to trick your brain into doing these things and making it easier for yourself, or having a certain mindset on it. For example, thinking about like the negatives of like, oh, if I don't go to the gym, then it's gonna make me feel bad about this or something. Like thinking about that, and like, or you could think about it positively, or think about how great it'll feel after, and these habits to kind of push you to go to start building these habits now, because it's hard to just have like nobody has habits like where like nobody forces new habits like on the get-go. Habits happen over time, and over time doing a repetition of these same things over and over again is what becomes a habit. And for my case, when I started tracking my weight and tracking my calories, counting my calories, and then also going to the gym at least 4 times a week, when I'm not going to the gym 4 times a week, I feel like I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, oh, something's missing. I like didn't complete my week. Something's missing and I need to get this done. I need to get my workout in and do all these things, or if I'm not eating clean, I'm thinking in the back of my head like, oh man, like I'm so used to doing this on the regular. And that's another thing where I've now created these habits, and a lot of these habits that I created of really disciplining myself has bled into other aspects of my life, where I'm better at scheduling things. I am also currently studying for the SIE, and I'm better at booking times for myself of when I can study. And I'm also now changing my mindset on with going out to eat. I'm not eating out as much compared to what I used to be, where I maybe go out to eat and drink with some of my friends maybe 2-3 times a week or something, instead of now it's like maybe once or sometimes twice. I mean, it's the summer, so I'm going out a lot more, but it's like now it's like once or twice a week now. So your habits, your great habits, can bleed into other aspects of life just as much as bad habits can bleed into other aspects of your life. Like for example, if you're a gambler and then you have a habit of gambling, a gambling addiction, it's gonna bleed in negatively to other aspects of your life, which is something that Power of Habits actually has a story that talks about, which is again incredible story. And I will say that I don't think that this book would have like, you know, if I listened to this book while I was earlier in my cutting and stuff, I can't say for certain that it would have like helped me, but it resonates with me a lot more now that I'm much deeper in my cut process, where like I said, I'm still not done, but I'm a lot further in now, where I can definitely understand why, and why these people are saying these things about habits, and why it takes time to build it, and once you do build it, it affects everything else. Like if it's a good habit, it's gonna affect other good things in your life. And it really did resonate with me, and it really hit close to home, and it made me, in a sense, more proud of myself for being able to get to the point where I am now. And the best thing I can say though about this is just please check out both of these books if you ever have the time. It just have it on the way to your drive to work, or as you're on the train, or just commuting, or just like something to listen to on the side. Obviously, best thing would be to actually read it. I honestly plan to buy the physical copies of these books and actually read it myself, besides just listening to the audiobook, because these are incredible books, and I think with either of these, it can definitely, help push certain aspects and give you that spark of, or maybe some ideas of what you need to do to change your mindset on certain things in your life right now. And it's not gonna be I will never think that this book will be something where you read it and you're like, oh wow, like this, like I know everything now, like I'm ready to go. But it's just like with anything else in life, it comes with practice. So you have to practice your habits, practice making it better, and eventually once you do, you're gonna be golden, and you're gonna be able to practice what you read. You can't just read something and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I got that, and then, oh, I understand it, and then I'm good to go. Like, no, you're not practicing it. You're just, it's in the same sense of what I feel like I used to do. Was I used to have like a bunch of saved videos of like high protein, low cal foods and all these kind of things, or like just learning a lot about like the gym and like or certain workouts and why, and like counting calories and all that, but I never practiced it. But I would just like be consuming the knowledge, but I was never practicing it. And at the time, I mean, I was still really overweight. Now, obviously, I'm in better shape now, and I'm still in the process of doing that because I'm practicing it. I'm practicing what I've learned. I'm not just taking that knowledge in. I'm using the knowledge that I've learned till now. But yeah, lastly, I think that's about it. Oh, one last thought. I do think Atomic Habits feels very close to Manosphere-ish. I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. But yeah, I think that's about it.